It's a very sensitive microphone, so it seems like you can hear me all right, right? Yeah. Welcome, and I'm Hayat Bain with Coming Together Virginia and Coming to the Table, and we'll explain a little bit more about that as we go along. Welcome to our session. I'm a member of the leadership team of Coming Together Virginia, which is considered a connected or local group of Coming to the Table National in Richmond, Virginia. I'm in Richmond based, but I'm an alumnus of William & Mary. And Coming to the Table was founded by descendants of enslavers and enslaved in 2006, committed to constructively address the legacies of slavery in the spirit of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream. And to quote from that speech, "I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood." So we do everything with that dream in mind. And this is a photo of a Coming to the Table and Coming Together Virginia meeting. The national organization has nearly 50 local groups in 19 states, and these groups vary widely in their numbers of participants and the style of their events and types of activities. So some groups are really small, meeting around one, kitchen table of someone, and other groups are much larger, like two of the groups here today that are represented, the Richmond group, Coming Together Virginia, and the Virginia Historic Triangle group in Williamsburg-Jamestown-Yorktown is represented. Those two groups are nonprofits in their own right, and the one that is the CTTT of Virginia's Historic Triangle is a program of the Virginia Racial Healing Institute. So you'll hear more about that later when Laura Hill speaks. And then the third group represented in our presentation today is in the Northern Shenandoah Valley of Virginia, and Roslyn will be joining us, and she'll introduce herself briefly later. All right, so I put a few larger groups have become nonprofits and use the same approach, but we're just bigger and have a lot more going on than some of the groups. A number of groups around the country meet virtually or have some hybrid options. There's a national virtual group where people from all over the country meet on Zoom on a regular basis and have the Coming to the Table style conversations on race. And then that's primarily for people who don't have a local group geographically near them, or who just can't get to group meetings and events for various reasons. And then just want to mention that we have a national gathering, which we do every 2 years or so, in St. Paul, Minnesota this time, and it's in June 12th to 15th. We also have a table out in the hall, and you may have already seen it, and we have sign-up sheets for mailing lists, and we have, we don't have information about the national gathering because it just got to be a lot. So we can answer questions about it, and you can look on the website, comingtothetable.org is the website to learn more about that. It's an incredible experience to meet with people from all over the country, concerned and taking action to heal the wounds of enslavement in our country's history. All right. So the Coming to the Table approach has 4 interrelated practices. The first one is uncovering history or truth-telling. The second one is making connections. And I often say making connections across racial lines because while we do support the idea of affinity groups of people getting together according to their race, we also think that it's really important to come together across racial lines for greater understanding and proximity. And then working toward healing, and I think of that as both working on our own inner work healing and working together in our group toward healing. And then taking inspired action to dismantle systems of oppression. So doing that important work in the world of coming together and going out, planning after you've done that inner work to do things that are making a difference and are dismantling those systems that are oppressive. And then we have a 2-minute and 20-second video that it's amazing how much you can communicate in one small video. So this just gives you an idea about coming to the table. And it's a little emotional for me because this was made just long enough ago that a couple people in the video that are near and dear to me to some extent have passed away. So here's the video.
Coming to the table is a movement that encourages healing and dialogue across ethnic boundaries.
We want to live together in peace. We want to be in harmony. But facing some of the issues that we've lived through in our past is the first step.
I'm at the table because I was one of 100 black children who were sent to integrate a school in Bensonhurst, New York, back in the 60s. We faced all kinds of things, and very few of them were really nice.
I had a lot of unresolved emotional feelings about race and how I was raised in the Jim Crow South. I don't want to go to my grave carrying those issues, so I felt like I needed to start looking at myself.
The times that we live in call for us to do away with a lot of the boxes that we've lived in.
But when I found coming to the table, I realized I can be with people who have this intention for healing from racial problems, which is what I've been through. That's my trauma.
Everything that I have done in coming to the table has enriched my life.
I lived in a world where I didn't believe in the potential of working together.
These are open-hearted people, which is such a contrast to what I went through all those years ago and what I've gone through in the years since in terms of people and their racist attitudes. And I feel like even if I can't heal the whole country, there's this little corner of it that's really going to be okay.
It is important to support organizations like Coming to the Table who are trying to do the work of personal healing, interrelational and community healing in a way that allows people to get peace within themselves and with each other.
So now I want to introduce my very dear sister friend, Danita Rountree Green, and she's the executive director of Coming Together Virginia and co-founder of our group, and we're in Richmond.
So I'm just advancing here, right? Hit the green button?
Just the green button.
Okay, I can do that, okay. So, hi everybody. I often go off script, so be prepared. I already thought about something huge that I wanted to ask because we have technology on our side. When we talk about truth-telling in history, so much history is right in front of us on our screens, on our phones, on our laptops. So who in here has a cell phone? Oh, look at that. Okay. Can you find for me on your devices there? Go to any site that talks about Today in Black History. Okay, because there's several sites now, and if you find something, and if you could yell it out, this also is a form of truth-telling that we do electronically, and it doesn't necessarily have to be Black history. It could be just history regarding this work. of racial healing. Look, y'all, come on now. We got some millennials in here for real. So, who found something? What's happening today in history? Give me some truth telling. Woo! That's it. That's right. Well, March 19th, but that's a good one. That's a good one. That's close. All right, who else? Anybody find anything?
I actually found I had up the Black Craftspeople Digital Archive.
Black Craftspeople Digital Archive. Thank you, and that's important too. Anybody else? Something in Puerto Rico, Spain? I know something happened today. It was a Freedom Day for someone.
Puerto Rico, March 23rd.
There you go. Awesome. That's the one I was looking for too. So this is part of what I'm going to talk about right now, truth telling in history. And we do have a practice of picking up our phones. You can even, there's even an app for that, where it will come to your phone every day and you will get a morsel of truth. So yeah, I say that's worth your time. So thank you, Hayat, for introducing me. My name is Danita Rountree Green, and I'm co-founder and executive director of Coming Together Virginia. We know this is an organization dedicated to racial healing, social justice, and equity. At the heart of our work is truth-telling, acknowledging the realities of our shared history so that we can move forward together. Richmond, Virginia is a city deeply intertwined with America's history of slavery and racial injustice, making truth-telling an essential tool for healing, transformation. There we go. Okay. Through courageous conversations, which you're going to hear a lot about today, relationship building, and action, we aim to better foster beloved and thriving communities rooted in justice and accountability. And you'll hear more about that from my colleagues today. Well, that's a slow thing. Okay. We believe together is better, and I will let you all read this, but I've included this slide because it reminds me so much of my past co-CEO, and it also reminds me of my original co-CEO and founder, Martha Rollins, who is, today is her birthday. March 22nd, right, is her birthday, and she is 82 today, I believe. So just a bit about hers. It's, she's celebrating her birthday on her farm in Martinsville. But we met at an event where she was actually being honored. And I read something about her and from my current book at that time. And she came up to me afterwards and said, "Oh, you're brilliant. Tomorrow I'm going to have lunch with Michelle Obama. Would you like to come with me?" And I said, "Well, I don't think I can go." But she said, "Well, no, I'm just going to call the White House and we'll just get that security thing just moved out of the way." Well, anyway, I didn't get to go because that didn't happen quite like that. But it started a wonderful friendship. And she is a direct descendant of Robert E. Lee, and I don't think I am. So I mention that only because we came from very different places. But the one thing that we had in common, first off, was that we love our city. And we were willing to do anything to bring people together across divides to be able to share in remembering and honoring what had passed, but also, more importantly, share truth-telling as friends and colleagues so that we can vision together a new Richmond. And did I mention that both of those ladies that I mentioned, their names, they are both European American. We do believe in coming together, Virginia, even when we do things as facilitation and volunteer leadership, to do it in a black and white communication style, so that we do have all of the stories in front of us. Okay.
So I didn't realize it was going to keep advancing.
Oh, is that what's happening here?
Yeah.
Y'all setting me up for failure. It's
didn't
going
realize
by
it was gonna
itself?
do that.
Okay,
So,
all
yeah,
right.
so you can
Then
go
we
back.
talk faster.
That was a hint, no.
Man, I know. This is not what I thought was going to happen. So, but that's okay. It is really going really, really
I knew
fast.
covered some of these things.
Okay. Well, you know what? I'm just going to let it roll. How's that?
All right.
Okay, let it roll and we'll talk, okay? Our vision is bold, and only through truth-telling and telling the truth can we imagine a world where racial healing leads to a just and equitable society. We are in the business of opening hearts and minds, and that requires honesty. And the only way you get to that honesty is to be able to be honest with yourself first, about who you are, where you come from, how you were raised, what grandma and grandpa told you, and to be willing to even think about the possibility that maybe grandma and grandpa didn't tell you the whole truth. Ashe? All right, sometimes that happens. Although we are changing and growing and healing in Richmond, the ghost of enslavement is still alive and well in the capital city. In Richmond, a city where history is still visible in its moments, and of course its many monuments, a lot of them have come down, and in its many neighborhoods and institutions, our work is especially urgent now. By confronting difficult truths, we can build a future that acknowledges the past while striving for justice. Now, how does this all work, this uncovering history stuff and repair? As CTVA, as we call ourselves, we create spaces for truth-telling and healing through small group discussions, as Hayat mentioned. We train facilitators, and I think we trained facilitators here and in different parts of the state. We engage ambassadors for this truth-telling too, and this is important. We have facilitators who are usually European American, but not always. But we have ambassadors who are African American in the city, who come with their stories, which are truly valuable, their own unique stories, and often tell those stories in the witness of white people who now get to move myths out of the way and hear the truth about what it means to be a person that walks with black skin. Our work is to bridge divides, educate communities, and support efforts to repair the damage of systemic justice. Truth-telling is not just about acknowledging history, but about using it to create meaningful change. And we still have a lot of work to do. There's a list of community partners. We have a lot of community partners, but we also have collaborations where we work with other organizations, not only in the city of Richmond, but other parts of the nation. So there's a lot going on. I really want to talk about this slide. I don't know how I'm going to make it come up last. Okay.
Is there any way, I don't know that there's any way to pause it.
Okay. I don't know. We can't pause it. I don't know. So, but anyway, I do want to go back to that one for sure. It went all the way
Oh,
off
geez,
then.
I can try to
Okay. I'm just going to keep rolling. Okay? All right. So our collaborations are extremely important, and and this has been difficult. I will say this too, almost as difficult as having the race conversation. I'm sorry for the students in here, but having the co-generational conversation, because we have very different ideas on where we are right now, which makes it even more difficult to plot where we're going forward. But I will say that most Coming Together Virginia and most of the chapters in Coming to the Table know that the future resides in these generations that are coming up. Be honest about most of the members that we have in Coming to the Table and Coming Together Virginia are of a certain age. And I believe it's because we come with a lot of trauma. So this style of communication that particularly we do in Richmond, people coming together at a table, sharing grandma's potato salad and some fried chicken or whatever, it makes it easy for people to engage in that way and share some truth, start with personal stories, and be able to also share the stories, the hurtful stories about their communities that need to be addressed. Truth-telling is the process of openly sharing historical truths, as I said, to move forward in an inclusive and just way. This doesn't just happen. You really have to work at it. The history that we have experienced in Richmond has been suppressed, but it's also very distorted. We had a program just last month about reclaiming our old city hall. Beautiful event where we realized that the Knights of Labor was an organization that was multicultural. Black and white labor folks came together to build our original seat of government in the city of Richmond. Who would have thought it? It was amazing. And in the relationships that were built there, this would have been in 1880, the 1880s. They ate at the same cafes and eateries. They made it possible to be able to make sure that the black and the white workers got the same wage. They slept in the same lodging areas. They ate. It was, but the reason I'm mentioning this is because this is not in any history book I read about Richmond. I've never read that. Someone, Professor Dr. David Ratcliffe, University of Pittsburgh, I think it's Pittsburgh, he's doing research and he found that story. But we also know that history is just that. It's a story. And whoever writes that story is the person who gets to control it. So we are really doing some excavation work in Richmond to find out what our stories are so that we can better move forward with the truth of it, truth-telling in history.
Do you want to know when time's up?
Yeah, is it up?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right, so I guess I gotta move forward, since you've already seen all the slides. Our theme this year, and for the next 2 years, is family, faith, and the future. So we do a lot of work because we are in Richmond with linked descendants. Those are folks who are coming together that may have the same last name, live in the same region, but some of those family members identify as black and some identify as white, but they have come to a place now where they want to blend that family and celebrate that blending. So we help with that by doing healing circles. Faith in action is something else that we do, and that is really, that's work when it comes to truth-telling. When we have to tell the truth about our religious past, how we see God, our interpretation of the Bible, and a lot of this has been used to weaponize us in this last election. When we talk about white supremacy and white nationalism, these are conversations that are also bringing truth to the table. And you handle them with care, but it has to be done. You saw the graffiti on the monument, so I won't go back and talk about that. Black Lives Matter, the story of the monument, and so much of the graffiti that laid waste behind Black Lives Matter and the folks in our organization that marched with them. Some of the churches and the houses and the establishment near the Capitol itself decided to not wash all that away, but to keep that because it's also part of our truth-telling in our history. We have lots of ways to learn, book circles, movie circles. You talk to this young lady right here about the circle she leads for Education to Action. And let me see. We are trying to model the change. I know, I've gone all the way through this now. Yep, it's a good thing. So I thank you for your listening. I'm hoping that you saw some great slides. And if you want to know more about what we do in Richmond, Virginia, look me up or someone on our team. Thank you for your listening. Good job. Thank you.
And now I want to invite another dear sister friend up to the podium, Laura Hill. She's the founder and executive director of the Virginia Racial Healing Institute, and Coming to the Table, Virginia's Historic Triangle, is a program of that. I couldn't hear you. Still can't hear you, sorry.
Okay. Good afternoon. I am so honored to be here today, particularly with this incredible woman. At Coming to the Table, when a new group comes on board, they have another group who's an established mentor. And I was so honored that our Coming to the Table chapter, I had the honor of being mentored by Danita Green. So it's such an honor to stand up here today. 6 years later, we started in 2019, and I did not know if I could do it. Danita said, "You got this, Laura, you can do it." So I'm very honored to be here with her. Well, first of all, I'd like to share with you how I became affiliated with Coming to the Table. It was 2019, and then Governor Northam had declared 2019 the year of reconciliation. It was the 400th anniversary of the first Africans being brought to Virginia. And I was looking for something to do to work toward reconciliation. So I went to my computer and I Googled racial reconciliation, and I found this organization called Coming to the Table, called the national office, and asked, how can I connect with the Williamsburg group? And the national manager said, well, we don't have a Williamsburg group. He said, we have a group in Richmond. And I said, well, that's too far for me to go. He said, would you like to start a group in Williamsburg? And I said, what do I have to do? But anyway, long story short, we started a group in Williamsburg, and April 4th, 2019 was the day that we got the letter, received a letter saying that we had been granted a chapter. Because I thought if anybody or any community should have a Coming to the Table group, it should be Greater Williamsburg. I mean, we are tied to American history. I mean, this is the birthplace of America. This is where the English colonists came in 1607, Jamestown. This is where, Pocahontas and the Powhatan tribes were when they were displaced by the English colonists. This is where the first Africans were brought in 1619. So if anyone should have a Coming to the Table chapter, it should be our community. And so here we are, and I'm going to just share briefly on making connections, because I decided to share a video that I thought you might prefer seeing the video rather than hearing me speak for 10 or 15 minutes, right? Okay. So I'm going to be brief, but making connections is twofold. But first of all, it's intentional. Okay, we have to be intentional about making connections, and it's twofold for us. It's crossing racial lines and getting to know people and to hear their stories. Our focus is on getting to know people who don't look like us, people who don't worship like us, and people that don't vote like us. We're very intentional about bringing our community together. And that's the second part. And let me just share how that has played out for us. We want our community to come together because even as Hayat said, the vision of coming to the table is the same dream of Dr. Martin Luther King for the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners to come to the table and sit down at the table of brotherhood. And so let me tell you what that looks like in the historic triangle. Making connections looks like working with government leaders. So in 2020, in the aftermath of the racial reckoning and the murders of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor, local leaders were looking for something to do. And I met with Mayor Doug Pons and Vice Mayor Pat Dent. And I was really impressed with the fact that they didn't just want to do something. You know how some organizations, they want to have a kumbaya event where everybody comes together and everybody feel good. They feel good and then they go home and nothing changes. But I was impressed that they wanted to do something that would have a generational impact. So I proposed a Truth and Reconciliation Committee. And they said, what? A Truth and Reconciliation Committee. We had never had a Williamsburg Truth and Reconciliation Committee in our, nearly 400-year history. And we wanted the city to tell the truth about the history and to research and share how African Americans have been treated here, the racial history, and then we wanted them to acknowledge it, and we wanted reparative acts. We wanted to see some funds allocated for the descendant community. And anyway, I'm so honored that they decided to move forward with it. In 2021, the Williamsburg Truth and Reconciliation Committee was established, and I was honored to be a member of it. And currently, the City of Williamsburg has allocated $250,000 for a descendant scholarship program. And I'm very honored to work with the Williamsburg Community Foundation. We are administering, they are administering the scholarship, and we're helping them to get everything set up and in order. So that's what making connections looks like. It looks like working with nonprofit organizations to support them, such as the Village Initiative and Let Freedom Ring Foundation. On Thursday, we hosted a Black History Month program, and we hosted a screening of a documentary by the Village Initiative. We support local initiatives to help our Williamsburg descendant community. We also make connections with faith-based organizations. The program was held at Williamsburg Christian Church. They opened the doors. St. Martin's Episcopal Church, they have sponsored programs that we organize for the community. So we make connections with nonprofits, faith-based, and businesses. We don't go around charging people to come to any of our programs or events because we don't want there to be any barriers. We want everybody that wants to come to be able to have a seat at the table. So we get sponsors, and Our annual sponsor is Centera Williamsburg Regional Medical Center. We made a connection with them to sponsor our programs. And it's not just taking their money, although we are happy to do that. But we also, I serve on their community council, and we're working with them to make Centera Williamsburg Community Hospital and the hospitals within the Centera family a more welcoming place, particularly for people who have been historically marginalized.
Laura, whenever you're ready to do the video, you just push that green button.
Okay, I'm gonna get to the video, and then also we have a relationship with the Virginia Gazette, with the local newspaper, and we have a column called "Building a Bigger Table." The circulation is about 40,000. So if you got any of you get the Gazette, there's an article in the Gazette today. It comes out every 2 weeks, and the focus is, again, on bringing our community together. All right? And discussing, having those courageous conversations. We discuss whatever's going on in the community. So this, and also in the community and nationwide. So the article in this, today's paper focuses on what we're doing here, the renaming of one of the middle schools here, James Blair Middle School. And I just want to recognize a lady who has been instrumental in that effort, and that's Mary Lassiter. Would you stand up? Let's give Mary a hand clap. She's here today. So you can read that, but we're very honored to work with the Virginia Gazette and community organizations. So anyway, I'm going to be quiet now. I'm going to push this green button, and I'm just going to show you what we are doing to make an impact in the community. Good afternoon. I'm Laura Hill, president of the Virginia Racial Healing Institute. We are a nonprofit organization committed to helping communities heal one person at a time. Welcome to the 5th annual Heal Greater Williamsburg, Heal the Nation Community Day. This event started in 2020 as a rally in colonial Williamsburg. It was a time of national racial unrest, and we wanted to hear from our community leaders. We wanted to know what they were doing to help our community heal, and it has now become an annual event.
The first step to fixing a problem is realizing that there is a problem. The first step to realizing that healing is possible is realizing that something is broken. Can I get a yeah? Yeah. All right.
Racial healing is profoundly important because our nation is so wounded in ways that many of us don't even recognize. And that's not just true for people of African heritage, it's true for all of us. White folks have a lot of healing we need to do. We've got a lot of work we need to do to recognize the kinds of ways that our history, not just of slavery, but of Jim Crow, of segregation, of discrimination, of racial difference, have harmed us. We need to find a way to tell the truth about that and to be able to become reconciled, for lack of a better word, because we really are all one family, and genetically more and more we realize we really are, and we need to embrace that, and we need to be one people, and we need to rectify the injustices and create a society that is more just for the people now, that tells the truth fully, and also lays a foundation so our kids and our grandkids will have a better world where everybody can flourish. That's why it's important.
My name is the Reverend Dr. Robert W. Lee IV, and my hope for racial healing is that it might not just be people coming to the table, but it might be a crowded table. That there might be a lot of people who may have never been at the table before but wanted to hear more about it. That there might be opportunities for change and for people to see themselves in a different light. That's the hope of all of this, is not that we'll stay where we are, but that we might be changed into something better, more equitable, and for our country's sake, a more perfect union. That's what we're after.
Let us commit to tomorrow, where the echoes of ancestral dreams are the realities of every young person across America. Let us pledge to make every day a day of racial healing, until the narrative of racial disparity is one for the history books, and our tapestry fully reflects the beauty of diversity through Virginia innovation. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Doug Pons, Mayor of Williamsburg. Events like this, opportunities like this to participate with folks like Laura Hill and coming to the table are so extremely important for all of us, so that we understand the broader picture of racial equity, racial healing, telling the truth, making this a greater community for all of us.
So I worked with Colonel Jones all the way back in 2005, and I was just sharing that when I first started working with him, he would give his presentation about Freedom Park and about his family on just a couple poster boards, and he did it at the library, and he got such a good reception for it that I'm so glad that we were able to see the culmination of all of it here at Freedom Park to really see his vision come to life.
It's been wonderful. It has been, I consider myself a lifelong learner, and I've learned so much here today, and I just hope that everything that has taken place today and that was said, I hope it have a ripple effect on our community, and we thank God for Colonel Jones.
He was a bastion. He picked up the torch and carried it and left a legacy for us to pick up the torch and do the same thing.
I think racial healing is extremely important. And I believe that the best way to convey to us is hearing people's stories. And that gives us an insight into what people have experienced, so that we can truly have empathy for those that have been mistreated.
It was a great time. It gives me hope. I love being around all these people, and I want to be a part of making our community better.
I did enjoy this conversation, just having space to come together to talk about real issues regarding race, regarding racial healing, regarding the issues that have been transpiring for hundreds and hundreds of years, and they're issues that we're still dealing with today. And even though not everything can be talked about in one confinement, it's a starting point, for sure. It's a starting point that needed to be taking place, and I'm glad that we just had this event for those conversations to start.
I learned a lot, and it's so great to see such a diverse panel. I love to listen and to learn and to hear what's going on in our community, and I'm just so thankful for an opportunity to meet new kinds of people and make new friends.
Fantastic program. Laura and all the coming to the table folks did a great job organizing, and thank all of them very much for all their hard work putting on this great program. So thank you very much.
Lord God of heaven and earth, you are our rock of ages and firm foundation. You are our divine liberator and creator. You are the maker of all things, the maker of all people, the maker of all bodies and all skin. You are the maker of all hearts and all minds, the maker of all souls. Only you, our divine maker, can remake us. Only you can remake what has been broken and make possible what at times feels impossible. Only you can liberate the consciousness, our hearts, our bodies, our society, our city, and this nation. As our maker, continue to remake us. We thank you for the way you are remaking us. Help each one of us to name our part in this story of racial hostility and injustice, and do what it takes to bring about the healing needed and necessary. Divine maker of us all, remake us. Convict us that there can be no reconciliation without a commitment to truth-telling that leads to a kind of repentance that awakens us to the kind of divine love that leads to actions of justice that repair and restore, like what we have witnessed here on individual levels today, where finally we will stand in solidarity and experience the peace, the human flourishing that you, our divine maker, want for all of us. And it is in that spirit we pray, in the name of the one who can liberate us all, Jesus the Lord. Amen.
Thank you. I also want to just take a minute to acknowledge some of our leaders and members that are here today. First of all, I want to acknowledge one of our very earliest members and a member of the board of the Virginia Racial Healing Institute, Bill Sizemore. Stand up, Bill. And we also have some other members of our group here today. Would you please stand up so we can acknowledge you? Beth, stand up. Dr. Fisher, stand up. We just want to acknowledge all the people who have support us in our community events. So thank you again, and I'll pass this back over to Hayat.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much. And do we have people from our group besides Cheryl and Karen? Is there anybody from the Richmond Coming Together Virginia group here in person? But you guys could stand and be recognized too, if you'd like. All right. All right. Chase, are you able to show the video again? To continue with our presentation. Oh, sorry. I didn't realize there wasn't supposed to be a blank in there. I don't know how that happened. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to introduce Roslyn Ella Honesty, and she's the leader, the co-facilitator of Coming to the Table Northern Shenandoah Valley affiliate in the Front Royal, Virginia area. And there's her beautiful face. Welcome, Roslyn. Oh. You just need to unmute.
Okay.
There you go. All right.
There we go. Greetings, everybody. Had an echo. Well, I want to say that I'm honored to be asked to participate in this wonderful event that honors the slave named Lemon, and all that has happened for William and Mary to want to move forward, acknowledging the history of the enslaved and their treatment, and moving forward with championing opportunities for people to come together to understand the truth and to see how they can forward the good work of, we can't right the wrong, but we can acknowledge the sin of slavery in our country. And so I appreciate the opportunity. I was asked to speak from a place of working toward healing. And what that basically means is to explore how we heal together through dialogue, reunion, ritual, meditation, ceremony, the arts, apology, reparations, and many other methods. And so I want to start by saying that our chapter is the closest in proximity to the founding of the platform called Coming to the Table out of Eastern Mennonite University in Harrisonburg, Virginia, where it is my understanding that the Black and white family members of the Jeffersons and also the Hairston family, a large slave-owning family in the South, had successful reunions together and wanted to look about how to continue that on and to make it better. And so there were understandings of the Peace Building Institute that resides in Eastern Mennonite University. And from there, a platform was launched called, of course, Coming to the Table. So the Northern Shenandoah Valley chapter represents 6 counties: Frederick, Clark, Warren, Shenandoah, Page, Fauquier, and many towns, giving the organization reach into several communities, locally Winchester, Front Royal, Warrenton. Our region is steeped in Civil War history, but until the last 10 years, there was not much grappling with the cause of the Civil War and the history of the enslaved in our area. Early 20th century historians even perpetuated the myth that the Shenandoah Valley had very few enslaved people, when in fact, 20% of the population in the first half of the 1800s were enslaved. Actually, in Shenandoah County, schools named for Confederate generals were renamed, only to have the decision overturned a few years later in 2024. A lawsuit is pending, and the struggle is real there. But the beauty of what God can do, I understand that there is in the makings qualifications that are goals are being met to establish an NAACP chapter there, which is very interesting because in that area, it's about 2.5% Black. So that's a wonderful thing, and we look forward to that and championing our members who are in that area. We are blessed to have courageous members who have acknowledged their families as former enslavers, who have worked to uncover the history, who took action to find their African kinship, made the necessary connections to meet and share their research that supported the DNA and genealogy for truth-telling, transformation, and reconciliation, which for me has been an extremely liberating journey. I must say that I personally am living Martin's dream of coming to the table, a brotherhood. And if I tell you my story, I'm already getting choked up as it is. But the truth is that my family found me and invited me to come to the table. And if I shorten up the story really short, I would say it took a white man to come to Winchester to tell me who I came through while inquiring about an Ella Honesty buried at Oryx Cemetery in Winchester, where I live. And that's my great-grandmother, who I was named after. And before Tim Kilby came into my life, I had no idea except for a picture of who she was. And certainly not that she was buried in what would be the family cemetery. So he invited me to come to Coming to the Table. He said to meet some of my cousins who I had no idea lived in Warren County, the home place of my mother and her family. Our journey of reconciliation our journey of reunion, our journey of dialogue, our journey of apology is how working toward healing has affected me deeply. I don't think I'll ever be able to repay him for this information that came to me after wondering for really what was 58 years who the two people were that hung in my grandparents' hallway. One baby in a christening gown and another woman who both look white. And at that point, my grandfather told me who they were. When he was a baby, and the other, the woman, his mother, that I was named after. There's nothing more profound and meaningful than knowing who you came through, who survived long enough for you to get here. Like the rest of the country, the legacy of enslavement is still being acknowledged and felt. Before the pandemic, the chapter met in person in the town of Front Royal. It is in Warren County, one of the 4 municipalities in Virginia that elected to close schools rather than desegregate, still being haunted by Klan-like behaviors today in Warren, Page, Shenandoah, and yes, even in Frederick County. The Kilby family, my new cousins I didn't know even existed, of Warren County led the fight for equal education in court. And plaintiff Dr. Betty Ann Kilby Fisher Baldwin, who was 13 at the time, and her siblings, Jean Kilby, who is now the president of the local NAACP in Warren County, and their late brother, James Kilby, have all participated in our chapter. They continue to share their family's inspirational story through books, presentations, activism, which resulted in a foundation that is created that offers reparations in the form of scholarships for African Americans, proven family members. And that was started originally by Phoebe Kilby, and their story, Betty and Phoebe's story, is in a book called Cousins that many of you may be familiar with. And then there is Tim, who is Phoebe's cousin, who came to me with the understanding of how we were related. And he has since written a book as well called Gourdvine Black and White, the enslaved families of the Piedmont. And whether you buy one or the other, they all go back toward the foundation, which is, again, another part of working toward healing. And so we also attract individuals who are seeking a diverse community of friends, both Black and white. All are interested in identifying the role racism has played in their lives. We all want to work towards healing from those experiences and to chart an anti-racial path forward in our lives, in our nation. And so as please excuse me for 1 second, I'm so sorry. I don't know how I could have thought that I could have told my story without a few tears and a snivelly nose, but I did. And so in any event, as far as working toward healing is concerned, what we want to do is understand what does racial healing look like. And for our chapter, it looks like reparations. And when we think about reparations, we think about, you can advance the slide now. When we think about reparations, we think about something that is broken that needs to be repaired. And so we decide that in coming to the table, that we participate with commitment as being part of repairs of the breach. And so one of the things that I want, that this is basically 2024 in review, but this slide speaks to a very powerful doing that was in 2021, and that was when the Virginia Archdiocese, Episcopal Diocese, decided that they would take a bold step and acknowledge their history within slavery, and they allotted $10 million to be put aside to be used to as reparations to repair their harms. And at this particular event, which we call an in-person gathering, because since COVID, we still do meet on the last Thursday of every month from 6 to 6:30 to 8. However, there are times when we want to grow our table bigger and allow for people to see exactly how we do what we do. And so one of our members, Reverend Valerie Hayes, who's also the rector there at the church in Front Royal, offered her space up for us to have these meetings. And so this was one of the first ones where we heard about more about the diocese and what they were doing. And also my cousin Tim told his story, and Sarah Downs was there, also a member of the Episcopal Diocese, speaking on behalf of the youth. Also, in that same month, we did a collaboration, if you will, with Selah Theater Project, which is a theater company that was established actually first, I believe, in Warren County, but is now in Winchester. Blue Dozier is the executive creative director there. And so we have now anniversary 2 years of celebrating Martin Luther King's birthday through plays that happen in January. Next slide, please. This is also an opportunity for the members of that church to have a pilgrimage to understand just the history, really the history, and brought back that in a presentation. Next slide, please. This slide is all about how it is that when you're ready to take on a big thing, like getting the word out and letting people know that there are other ways outside of even the NAACP that one can come together. We decided to do an introduction of our organization in Winchester at a Black History Month event, where the theme was Casaneri and Guerra, after the honoring the Maasai tribe. That year it was African Americans in art, and we were able to do so through another community partner called I'm Just Me Movement, which is Rodney and Tina Colbreth, who are about mentoring and having a safe place for children. With an adult who is able to encourage them through their limitations to live their best lives. Next slide, please. Another way that we, and could you go to the next slide, please? Another way that we look about working toward healing is to give homage to and honor to those who are enslaved, who were buried. And this kind of falls under what we call environmental racism, where there is little regard often to the buried that don't always have stones, but we know that they're there due to the way they present. In this particular 2 slides, Mary Hawk was don't advance, but I know you're trying to hurry me on. But Mary Hawk was instrumental as being one of the individuals in members who have enslavers on both sides of her family to help unearth the history of so many people buried there at the Enrico Baltimore Cemetery. Okay, you can advance it now to the next slide. Okay, I want to bring this up because we mentioned about in Shenandoah County the big to-do, what money can buy when you're doing the right thing and the people want the right thing, changing the names to away from Confederate icons and then to have it changed back. But that's in the works, so you can pray for that area in that situation. 60 slaves for sale. And the next slide, please. Could you go back to 60? Could you go back? Okay. So this particular piece was in conjunction with the other co-facilitator of our chapter, Kristen Lays, who is the executive director for the Belgrove Plantation. And it was a wonderful opportunity to come together for half a day and understand about the economic side of slavery and while it went so long. If you'll do me a kindness, please, and go back to June, please.
Because your personal story was so beautiful, so I'm so glad that we did that. But
Okay.
I think we need to go quickly through the rest of your slides and not talk about the details.
Okay, can we just do June, please?
So go
Just
to
that.
June. Okay. Whoops.
Just that one.
Out of order somehow. There we go.
Okay, that one is perfect place. One of the other things that we do that's very profound is we have a vigil in Warren County, the Black Lives Matter Vigil. And actually this week is the 249th consecutive week that we have protested quietly by supporting Black Lives Matter. And those individuals who are there also spearhead an outlet that we have, one of 4 now this year for Juneteenth. Okay, I realize we've gone over, and that's quite okay. So I've enjoyed being able to share the story. And if you are interested to look at another way to come together and deal with the work that needs to be done on the white side, with a white fragility on the Black side, also with a post-traumatic slave syndrome, books that we use very closely to help us understand how to relate to one another. That would be a wonderful thing. Feel free to go to our website and join and consider, since we're on Zoom, becoming a member in our chapter. And we also have over 300 people in a private Facebook page that we also reached out to that's been very forthcoming with information. So I appreciate the time. We did overrun. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to speed through the ending, which it's so worth it to hear the personal stories and people's history. So I don't regret that at all from all the 3 women who've shared. And yet we were hoping to help you have an experience at the table, which we won't be able to do, but we hope you do connect with one of our groups or the virtual group. So the last of the 4 interrelated practices is taking inspired action to dismantle systems of oppression. And I think we've covered that through all the different slides and videos that you've already seen. We feel that's important, and at least at our events in Richmond, we encourage people to take an action at the end of every event based on what the event was on. And just to quickly say that feel free to take a picture of this slide if you want and go home and maybe engage in a conversation with a small group of friends and hopefully a mixed race group at least, or mixed age and mixed race, and do some aspect of circle process where you're not cross-talking and you're deeply listening and being authentic and using I statements. And on the back of the handouts we gave out are circle process and touchstones. So I just want to refer you to that. So on the front, it has some information about coming to the table, some basics, and then on the back is the circle process and touchstones. And we would love it if you would consider this conversation prompt. Based on what you've heard in this session, are there one or two inspired actions that you feel you can commit to take going forward as a part of healing the wounds of racism and history of enslavement in yourself and in your community? And just to do, what time is it? A very brief thing to kind of close things off. And then I would just say that if you have questions, seek one of us out and also visit our table. So I just thought it would be really great to share a song together. So this is part of circle processes, having a beginning and an ending that's all together, kind of like a ceremony. And I often like to do closings that involve music because I'm a musician. And I didn't really think of what I was going to do until I got up here. And so some of you might know Melanie Demore or Demore. I'm not sure how I think she says Demore, Melanie Demore. And the song Lead with Love. So I'm going to attempt to get that going. And if you want to stand up, I want to encourage you to stand up because we're doing a lot of sitting. And join in as you get it. I'm not going to sing the verses. We're just going to do a couple of rounds of the chorus. So it goes like this. You got to put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Come on, get up. Come on, come on. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. One more. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. And lead with love. Thanks for the harmonies. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Roslyn, for being with us. All right.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Good job, ladies.
All right.